top the table in this group stage, and the extra money and the extra strength in the squad. But a great group with West Ham.
Yeah, good game. West Ham, I have to be said, they're having a fantastic season. I know they had a very big blip there a week ago where they lost 5-0 away to Fulham. Well, I have to say, David Moyes is doing a fantastic job. I know there's been some West Ham fans getting on his back lately, but I can't see why, because, as you said,
no, some fans are never happy.
Never happy,
drive on.
Never happy. And I think West Ham are probably thinking they could do better. I think the players they have, Pakesha and Kudos, I think I'm mispronouncing his name, but they look two fantastic players. You got 2 goals. Kudos got 2 goals at home in the game against Wolves. And he looks a fantastic player. He almost looks like an opposite of David Moyes team, to be honest with you. But they're flying at the moment, Paul. 5 games in the Europa League. One of them, he lost the other group. 15 points, top of the group. They avoid the playoff round now for the Europa League, so they're straight into the last 16. I think I'm surprised with Olympiacos because they're normally a team that you would see sometimes the Champions League doing well or get to the last 16.
I suppose we just talk Olympiacos. If you in each group with Ajax, teams that maybe 15 years ago were contesting to win the Champions League are now struggling because what has happened in Greece and in Holland and clubs like the Belgium and Portugal, they're actually now becoming feeder clubs. They can't hold on to their players. And if you look down in Group B, Brighton, for the first time ever in the European, they topped the table with that. So unfortunately, teams, well, not unfortunately, just the way it is. It's a kind of a system. But the clubs and the countries that were at the top table now are in the second tier, and they're just feeder clubs. And that's why Olympiacos are struggling. And we're down to Group B now, why Ajax struggle. But in fairness to Brighton, top the table, 4 wins, a draw, and a loss. And fair play to them for that. They've progressed again from last year.
Oh, it's fantastic. I think Brighton's form in the league has been affected by their goals in Europe. But look, they've a load of injuries as well. A lot of matches, a lot of minutes on the clock. So it's hard for them, but they've done very well in Europe, to be fair. I mean, they didn't start particularly well, Paul. I think they lost at home to AK Athens and they drew away to Marseille. But after that, they won 4 games in a row and actually ended up topping the group. So I think the Serbs did a fantastic job there. Marseille, I think it's Gattuso is in charge of Marseille, and I'm not to correction this, but they've come second. Ajax, as you said, I remember, I can vaguely remember, Ajax won the European Cup in '95.
No, I'm old enough to remember Ajax won 3 in a row in the 70s.
3 in a row in the 70s, yeah, they're a fantastic club. But funny enough, ever since Ten Hag left, Ten Hag got Ajax winning the whisker, getting the Champions League for the Tottenham. I think they scored a goal in the last phase of play. Almost got into the Champions League final against Liverpool in 2019. But ever since he's left, I think they've even sacked the manager that they had started the season with him. They were down near the relegation zone. And that's unheard of for Ajax, good or bad times. I can't remember a time when Ajax were in danger of going down. So, that's maybe a bit dramatic, but their form was terrible in the league. Their form in Europe was awful altogether. So they're gone down now to the Conference League, if I'm not mistaken, when they finished 3rd. So they're a great club, Paul, as you said, but the last 20 years, they have become more or less a feeder club for all the big. I wouldn't say they're to be fair. Ajax are a massive club. They're probably still into clubs that aren't as big as them in terms of history and stuff like that.
But in terms of money and resources.
Money and resources just isn't in Holland. I mean, I saw an interview with Jaap Stam, and he said the top clubs in the Dutch are quite good, but he said down lower the league, the standard is pretty poor. He said, it's pretty mediocre. He was saying, and that has to be true as well. So if the top clubs in the Dutch league are struggling, I know PSV Eindhoven have qualified and stuff like that, but Ajax are a great club in the past, and it's sad to see what's happening. But I suppose that's the matter of what, Paul. If you don't have the money and the resources, and you become a feeder club, your best players, they're eventually going to go. And you keep selling your best players, we will have a dramatic fall, and that's what's happening.
Yeah. Now with Group C, just a quick word, Rangers. We talk about the Scottish League. Actually, they surprised me by topping this group. I thought they'd really struggle in this, but they started off very poor in the Scottish League. They lost a number of games. The manager was being, shall we say, he was getting plenty of reviews, but
you're sacked. Yeah, you got to do one. Yeah,
a small bit.
Yeah, they have improved now, Paul, and that's a fair goal now from Rangers. I have to say, obviously the standards compared to the Champions League, we have to bear that in mind as well. But to lose one game in that group, to top it, that's fair going from Rangers. I have to say,
Sparta
now it's fair
Prague,
going.
Sparta Prague from the Czech Republic, and of course Real Betis from Spain, so they'll be fairly strong.
Yeah, they got the result they did against Real Betis, and I think in the last game away from home. So that was fair going for Rangers. So in the end, and it's top the group, and they're going to the they actually skip the playoff round, Paul,
Yeah.
and for the Europa League. So they're in the last 16 now. Will this affect Rangers' ability to win the league now in Scotland, because they're going to have more games than certainly than Celtic will? So that could be a beneficiary to Celtic in terms of the league position. But in terms of keeping your season alive, have to have at
And
least.
it also gives a kind of a profile, because obviously the Scottish are your bread and butter, but if we're in Europe, there is a bit of a profile for improvement, so.
It is, yeah, and to be fair, I suppose Rangers have dealt with a run in Europe a bit better than Celtic have. Rangers did get into the Europa League final a couple of years ago, though he lost the penalty. So they have seemed to they're just that better than Celtic. Then Celtic have been the ones that have been doing the bread and butter at home in in Scotland, and winning all those league titles. So it'd be interesting to see how both teams managed that in the new year.
Yeah. Now we go to Group E, and again it was fairly predictable. Liverpool topped the table, and they weren't even playing brilliantly. They're going well in the league this year. They're way more. They're in the top couple. They're really going well, but they didn't even play in top level. I think they were only in second gear, third gear. And they topped the league. It says them 2-0, so France qualified. But again, it was the draw was kind of suited them, but they didn't even have to be in top group. But Liverpool, they'll qualify for the last 16. I think they'll be aiming to win this and get into the number one, win the tournament, but guarantee qualification for the Champions League next year, because that's where they want to be.
Yeah, but I think by the way they're going in the league position, Paul, they probably will get top four. I think they're probably cool. They're probably a good bet now for the league. We'll get into that maybe some other time. But as you said, second or third. To be fair, but I don't think they got out neutral in this group. To be honest with you, I mean, they had guaranteed top place by the last game. I think that Jurgen Klopp had a lot of kids in the last game away. They lost to Lewis and Royal Union. I can't pronounce
Royal Union.
top place too. Yeah. So look, they won 4 games. They lost 2, but they lost those 2 games. A bit unfortunate in the game against Toulouse. I think there was a goal that got ruled out in the last minute. But as you said, they coasted through this group. To be quite honest, they're by far the better team in this group, deserving first place. Toulouse, I wasn't sure whether about them, but they managed to get second place, and then the third place team. Lask were very, very poor, have to be said, but only won 1 game.
Yeah.
I think that was.
A quick question, Joe. Was Kelleher, the Irish goalie, was he playing for Liverpool in these matches with you?
He was. He played the last game there, and the away game they lost 2-1. As you said yourself, we've been talking about Kelleher that he's not getting enough game time in terms of obviously he's getting cup matches, but that's why once every couple of weeks we would all we as probably fans of the Irish team, we would like to see him getting a run now in a few league games, but he's not going to get that, because unless Alisson is injured long term, he ain't going to be starting. So come February now, he's probably not going to have any game until February, Paul, and that's now obviously he might play in
the reserve. Isn't there reserves in the Premier League? Is there a Premier League reserve or 2 or what?
Well, sorry, I must correct myself. He might play now in the League Cup games, but that's why. But once we get that game, these games are played Tuesday and Wednesday. He's not going to probably play again unless they win the game, unless they go and win it.
No, what about
probably
the reserves?
Late January and February.
In the Premier League and stuff?
There probably is, but he probably be guaranteed the place on the bench for the Premier League.
Oh yes, they wouldn't chance him in the reserve in case he get injured, and then there'd be no one for the bench in.
That's what I mean, and like normally when you have sometimes in the Champions League there in the group stages in Europe, you see nearly two goalkeepers available on the bench. So I've always said it's like if he's not getting game time, Bazzuno's getting in ahead of him. You have a player there in Bristol, I think it's Bristol City, Max O'Leary. I think he's getting games. So like I think he's probably one of the best goalkeepers we have produced, because I think he's a very good goalkeeper. But he's simply not getting enough game time for most people's liking anyway.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what Liverpool fans would say.
Yeah. No, just to finish up, I suppose it just shows the strength of the Premiership in terms of money and resources, that between both competitions, apart from Manchester United, all the other English clubs have done very well. So it just goes to show. I remember a number of years ago they went through a poor spell, but I know if you go back to the 1970s and into the 80s, they were doing very well in all the competitions to win them regularly. But now it
Yeah,
seems again, all the way through the English clubs are qualifying. Except and Manchester United, but the main reason is there's instability in the club with the ownership and no one knows what's happening with them. But generally, the money's in the Premiership. They're able to buy the best players and the bigger squads, and the results are coming through now. Just a quick word before we move on.
well, that's for sure, Paul. You know, there was no. I think if you look at over the all the group stages, Europa League, Conference League, I think someone said that the coefficient there, Germany and Spain are a bit ahead, but I think the English clubs will be the ones to be near enough to get the trophies. You know, other than Bayern Munich, you would say, and other than Real Madrid, I think they're probably the only two teams that can stop, say, Man City winning the Champions League or Arsenal. So I think the English clubs are going to be dominating. They're going to be in the semi-finals every year in the Champions League. I would say they're going to probably make one of them is probably going to make the final over the next couple of years. Definitely, Man City probably would think will be the favourites to do that. Arsenal possibly if they get over this. I think Arsenal lost the last last 16 games in the Champions League, so I think they're going to do that this season in February. So the strength of the Premier League is there, Paul. The money's there, but yeah, it all depends what the other clubs in Europe think. Like this new Champions League format, there was this Super League thing that was proposed, but it was defeated straight away pretty much by the fans. Other clubs in Europe want money as well. They want a larger piece of the pie. But the Premier League is an investment. The Premier League is massive between TV and investment by owners. So the other clubs in Europe I would say are getting a bit jealous, but it's not total domination just yet, Paul, in terms of the English clubs. But they have the money, they have the best resources, they have the best management.